I think Drew Brees is fucking fantastic. I want to say that again. I think he's an all-time QB. But this, like, you're doing a disservice to Drew Brees. You're doing a disservice to other great quarterbacks, and you're embarrassing yourself with football, like showing your football knowledge, if you're talking about him as in the conversation of the greatest of all time. He's not. He's just not. Plain and simple.
I'd agree with everything you said. In fact, you were so worked up, you called me.
I was like, this has to be on the rundown. People are losing their minds on
Yeah.
Twitter right now.
You called me on the way to your show. I couldn't agree more. Guys, tap the brakes.
Slow down.
Take a deep breath. Let's just look at some things. Now, we obviously are always get into the quarterback discussion. Joe and I, we have disagreements on stuff, and but we do agree that it's a team game, but also the quarterback is the most important player on the field when it comes to wins in the playoffs.
And wins and losses in general, playoffs, like
it falls on the quarterback.
When we talk about basketball, like when we talk about different sports, people always go, you're comparing apples and oranges. Of course you are. No one player in baseball is worth like significantly more than any other player on the field. Like even when you're talking about like the best play, like the Mike Trout in your lineup to the worst player in your lineup, like they only have so much difference on a team. Like you talk about WAR, they'll talk about like, oh, this guy had a 10 WAR for the year, 10 more wins above replacement player. Like the basketball equivalent of that is, LeBron James is leaving a team. Now the Cavs are going to suck. They just went to the last 4 finals. Football, the same thing. No significant difference except your quarterback. And just so much fault. The ball is handed to your quarterback to start every play. Even on teams with great receivers and great running backs and great whatever, it is that person's requirement, forget passes, to decide who gets the ball, how we're going to play, what kind of offense we're going to. It's all the change we make in the line. It's all on the quarterback. By far the most important position in football. So yeah, more rests on their shoulders. It's not fair to say this middle linebacker only had 1 playoff win. It is fair to say that about quarterbacks.
Well, and that's the point. Drew Brees has 7 playoff wins.
7
total.
Here's some perspective. Tom Brady has 27. Okay. Eli Manning has 8. That's just some perspective.
So when I see tweets, and I saw a tweet from a dirtball that said, if you replace Drew Brees with Tom Brady, Drew Brees has 7 Super Bowls. I responded with a blinking guy meme because I wanted to wait for this show to air out my opinion on that. How? I want to know from that tweet, what in your mind, and when I say you, anyone, like Joe's saying, who's saying now Drew Brees could be the GOAT, what in your mind makes you think that Drew Brees wins either the 2 against the Giants or 1 against the Eagles? Of Brady's 3 losses, what makes you think Drew Brees is an upgrade from Brady when Drew Brees has basically been in playoff games?
Tom Brady has played in more Super Bowls than Drew Brees has won playoff games. Again, I think that I want to talk about a couple things with Drew Brees. Let's say, first of all, 7 playoff wins. Okay. They put a lot on the outdoors. The Saints are so good indoors. I think sometimes that's over exaggerated. I think they do a little too much with that, but it is legit. The Saints in Drew Brees' career in the dome versus outside the dome, worlds different. So, yeah, did they win a playoff game against the Eagles outdoors? Sure. But, that is a huge factor. Also, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Drew Brees is a great example, like Phillip Rivers, like Dan Marino, like Dan Fouts. Do you want your quarterback to lead the league in passing?
Well, it's not a balanced offense if you do.
Right.
Now, I will say that might not always fall on Brees because Brees, until basically last year,
Okay, you're going to what? Say his running game wasn't great?
hasn't had the, hold on, I'm not going to say it's awful, but it hasn't had the best running game.
Who's Tom Brady's running backs that like Brees would have changed Drew Brees' career?
I mean, that's a fair point.
Does Drew Brees have more Super Bowls if instead of having Reggie Bush and Mark Ingram at times, he had Ahmad Bradshaw and Brandon Jacobs? Does Drew Brees have more Super Bowls if he had Ty Montgomery and, like
Amon Green?
Yeah, Ryan Grant? Like, who are these guys? Who's Peyton Manning's? Who was Peyton Manning's running back in Denver? Is it fucking?
Well, obviously he had some good ones in Indy. He had Edgerrin James,
Sure.
and then, but then again, what he had a Joseph Adai. Look, we agree. I'm just pointing that out there because everyone wants to bring in because for some reason this argument has leaped to Brady versus Brees, which I find wild. For the record, off the top of my head, better than Brees all time. Brady, Peyton Manning, John Elway, Joe Montana,
Aaron
Rodgers. So what is that, 6?
5.
So that's 5. That's off the top of my head. We're 5.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, talk about those 5 guys. Make an argument that, like, you would rather have Brees. I don't know what your argument is.
Because if you take,
again, look, we can do the whole this guy on this team and this guy on this team. Like, I absolutely do think Brady's legacy is exaggerated by being Bill Belichick and the Patriots quarterback. I absolutely do. But that's a big leap to say you're going to take Brees over him. If I was starting a team and I said I wanted to take Manning over him, we're talking about a guy who made 4 Super Bowls. 1, 2 with 2 different teams. When he was on the field versus when he wasn't, what was the difference between the fucking Colts? Okay? You look at Brees. I love Brees.
He's a great quarterback.
But how much truly was there a drop-off between Brees and the Chargers going with Phillip Rivers?
Wins-wise, there probably wasn't.
Very similar guys.
Yeah.
But I said this before when we were talking. Brees may be the best passer of all time, but like that's a different thing than the best quarterback of all time.
Here's one thing
I think he's closer to Marino.
Yes, he is.
Than he is.
Yes, he is.
To Montana.
We agree there.
1 Super Bowl. If he doesn't have it, he is Dan Marino.
I like to watch the NFL Network. If you guys have access to it, I highly encourage you to watch it. I've always said this. Forget all those other networks. I love the NFL Network because all the analysts are former players. And what I like about the NFL Network, which some of the other networks like ESPN don't do, their former players are like high-level former players. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The NFL Network is putting Hall of Famers, all-pro guys who competed at the highest level. So I completely respect their opinion. I put on NFL Network after he broke the record on Monday. And it was Reggie Wayne, Maurice Jones-Drew,
yeah,
and I forget somebody else. So you have guys who had...
That'd been awesome if it was Maurice Claret via satellite from fucking, penitentiary.
Yeah. That would have been amazing.
You're like, we got Booby out here in the yard. He can sling it. I'd take Booby over Brees.
Booby. Anyway, what I thought was such a great statement and great insight from both Reggie Wayne and Maurice Jones-Drew is they said this. Drew is great. And they were saying the same things we're saying. But they said, look, he's making the passes that, in a way, NFL quarterbacks should always make the great passes. And I believe it was Reggie Wayne said this, but he's not making the insane, wow, he dropped a dime. Does that make any sense?
Great. And he doesn't have to. Great.
And the argument that those guys were making was kind of the same thing we're saying is, guys, it comes down to playoff wins and Super Bowls for these quarterbacks. 7. Guys, Brees, look at the numbers. Brees and Brady have basically been in the league the exact amount of time.
Right.
The exact amount of time.
And again, it's not a matter of like, I think he's one of the all-time greats, but when we're talking about like putting him in that, like, yeah, is it his fault? Stephon Diggs, that they're fucking D-back did it, and then Stephon Diggs makes that crazy play, and then they go to but hey, why are you in that situation? Do you know what I mean? When we talk about the 7-9 Seattle team, the fucking beast mode heard around the world.
Yeah.
They upset the Saints
that was in actually Seattle.
Yeah, in Seattle. But I'm saying because Drew Brees playing outside in January. I mean, I remember the year the Giants won. I think it was 2011. The Brees beat the Giants by like 65 in the Dome, and then in the playoffs, I was like, I just don't want to play I just don't want to play New Orleans in the Dome. And guess what? San Francisco and Alex Smith beat them, and then we get the Niners on the road.
But what does that say?
We go to the Super Bowl.
That's a good point. Guys, what is that? That's a huge knock. I'm sorry. And again, I agree with Praino. He's a top 10 all-time quarterback. But that is a huge knock against Drew Brees. If his game is that much different from a controlled environment versus outside, look at the greats. Does it matter where Brady plays? Does it matter where Montana plays? Does it matter where Elway plays? Does it matter where Aaron Rodgers plays? It doesn't matter whether they're in a dome or the frozen tundra of Lambeau.
And by the way,
it shouldn't matter.
And by the way, I don't think that makes Drew Brees bad. I don't think Drew Brees outside in the January, I don't think that makes him bad. I think that makes him human, as opposed to superhuman in the dome, where no one wants to go, where this guy's going to throw for 500 yards. Let's play him where he just is every other quarterback.
So we basically
and also look, it is a team game. I get it.
Yes.
He hasn't had the best defenses, and when he had a great defense that was being paid bonus money to hurt people,
they won a Super
Bowl. And last year when their defense was better, and last year when their running games were blah 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 blah, all that stuff. Fine. I'm not saying he's not the GOAT because he only has one Super Bowl. I'm saying he's not the GOAT because he has 7 playoff wins and 1 Super Bowl. And again, because I'm not sure I want my quarterback to be the best passer of all time. Like, I'm not sure I want it. I think I'd rather have the best quarterback as opposed to the most passing everythings.
Well, personally, I think Brady's going to break all his stuff because I think Brady's going to have a few more years past Brees. But as we wrap this up, okay, so we both agree. We've listed Brees. I'm sorry. Above Brees, we've listed Brady, Montana, Elway,
Manning,
Rodgers in no particular order. So we're already at 5. Do you then put Brees 6?
Yeah, sure. Great.
I'm fine with that.
Great.
Yeah. In fact, I could be wrong. Can you think of like the big Brees comeback playoff wins? I can think of them with all the other guys.
I mean, not off the top of my head. No. I'm sure he has his great, but like
that's what I'm saying.
He's got 7 wins. He doesn't have 5 of them. You know what I mean?
And
I can think of the Niners loss. I can think of the Vikings loss.
Yeah.
And I can think of the
Seattle loss. So basically, Brees has 7 playoff wins. He's been a starter since 2001. 3 of those 7 happened in 2009 when they win the Super Bowl. So basically, in 16 years, outside of the Super Bowl season, he has 4 playoff wins. That's 1 playoff win every 4 years. Just saying.
I get it. again, it's a team game. I get it. But look, but here's the thing. Eli Manning is 6th in everything. He's got more playoff wins. He's got 2 Super Bowls. Let's just agree, no one's talking, rightfully so, that Eli Manning is in this conversation. And he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be. He's in the next tier. He's in the tier that, includes guys who have 8 playoff wins and a Super Bowl and a bunch of fucking career stats. He's in that tier. Sorry, I think Brees is in the 6 to 10.
Yeah. No, I agree. And to be honest, guys, that's a great all-time ranking. We're saying Brees is the 6th greatest all-time quarterback. I mean, I just want to pull up out of curiosity. How many playoff wins do you think Big Ben has?
13.
Right on the nose. 13. So almost double.
Yeah.
And obviously, again, it's a team game. Ben has had some great defenses, some great running games. We're not taking that away. Just, I don't know. I mean, I think that's actually an interesting comparison. Do you think if you switch and say Drew Brees on those Pittsburgh teams, do you think Drew Brees has more than 2 Super Bowls?
I don't know.
Because I don't know either. And I think that's important. Neither of us can say with conviction that those Steelers teams have more Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's our discussion on Drew Brees. Let's get to our picks.
Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast.